And if the public buy into the idea that you're the person or the woman to sort it out, which enough of them did when she was using the phrase.
Not, first of all, hear the previous interview of the Chief Secretary, and so the question to me was put about pocket money.
We've published a line-by-line account of that £22 billion that the previous government left. We are now growing the economy.
To health and disability benefits will lead to increased poverty, including severe poverty.
Rachel Reeves just delivered a masterclass in how not to be a politician. Her comments about ordinary British citizens weren't just controversial, they revealed a fundamental disconnect between Westminster elites and the people they're supposed to represent. As MPs rose in fury and social media exploded with outrage, Reeves's reluctant apology only deepened the damage. I've studied political communication for over a decade, and this incident stands out as a textbook case of crisis mismanagement. By the end of this video, you'll understand the 5 critical errors Reeves made, how her response compounded the problem, and what alternative approaches might have saved her from this career-defining disaster.
But it's not a right analogy, and apologies have already been made.
What do you make of Reeves' "there is no alternative" line?
I don't think it's a clever thing to say. I think it...
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
0.2%. Obviously, you highlighted the fact that their growth forecast has halved from 2% to 1%.
Reeves' economic incompetence is mind-blowing.
It's quite a punchy title, but you know, then again, it's true. You know, and the irony is, I mean,
what turns an ordinary parliamentary statement into a career-defining disaster? Rachel Reeves just showed us exactly how it's done. In what should have been a routine economic policy announcement, the Chancellor managed to reveal a profound disconnect from the very people she's meant to represent. The context is crucial here. Reeves was addressing Parliament about budget decisions when she uttered those now infamous words about working families having to make difficult sacrifices. The statement might have passed unnoticed in another era, but in today's Britain, where millions are struggling with a cost of living crisis, it landed like a grenade in the House of Commons. Her precise language choices betrayed an alarming detachment from ordinary citizens. The condescending tone, the dismissive hand gesture, and the impatient sigh that preceded her statement all contributed to the impression of a politician utterly removed from the daily struggles of working-class Britain.
That is a lady who has an economics degree, PPE, Politics, Philosophy and Economics, from Oxford.
No longer enough, if it ever was, for government to turn a blind eye to where things are made or who is making them.
5 critical errors transformed this routine statement into political self-destruction. First, she employed elitist language that created immediate distance between herself and constituents. Second, she casually dismissed legitimate economic concerns as if they were minor inconveniences rather than survival issues. Third, when challenged, she appeared defensive rather than showing a shred of empathy. Fourth, she failed entirely to acknowledge her privileged position while lecturing others about sacrifice. And fifth, she catastrophically misread the public mood during the worst economic hardship many have experienced in decades. Compared to successful crisis communication principles, Reeves violated every fundamental rule. Where transparency would demand honesty about economic realities, she offered platitudes. Rather than demonstrating accountability, she deflected responsibility. Instead of showing empathy, she projected coldness. And humility? Entirely absent from her approach. Her educational and professional background provides context for this tone-deaf performance. As an Oxford economics graduate who has never worked outside politics, Reeves exists in a bubble of theoretical economics detached from lived experience. This academic abstraction was painfully evident as she explained financial hardship to people actually experiencing it.
Chief Secretary to the Treasury has apologised for the clumsy language that he used.
As promised, we will extend the energy profits levy on oil and gas producers to invest in homegrown energy here in Britain.
The perfect storm intensified when she refused to rule out further tax increases while simultaneously announcing the Heathrow expansion, a juxtaposition that crystallized the perception of elitism. Ordinary families must sacrifice while we invest in infrastructure that primarily benefits the wealthy was the unintended but unmistakable message. Her initial response to the backlash only hinted at the disaster to come. Rather than immediate contrition, she doubled down with clarifications that further exposed her disconnect. Parliamentary colleagues watched in horror as a manageable misstep transformed into potential career suicide. The window for genuine crisis management was rapidly closing as Reeves finally approached the dispatch box. What separates career-saving apologies from those that become political epitaphs? In the moments that followed, Reeves would demonstrate exactly what not to do when public trust hangs in the balance.
And a master's in economics from the London School of Economics. So she must know something about economics. Everything we do should be to maximise the best
through our National Wealth Fund, our planning reform, our pensions reform, as well as reforming our public services so that we can deliver for the people we came in here to represent.
Days of mounting pressure had left the Chancellor with no choice but to address Parliament directly. The critical period between her initial tone-deaf remarks and this forced appearance represented a squandered opportunity, a time when swift, authentic contrition might have salvaged her credibility. Instead, her delayed response allowed public anger to compound exponentially. When finally standing before her colleagues, Reeves delivered what can only be described as a masterclass in insincerity. Her body language betrayed every carefully scripted word of regret, shoulders tense, eyes darting. Her physical demeanor screamed reluctance while she offered qualified expressions of remorse that rang hollow across the chamber. This wasn't accountability, it was damage control theater performed by an unwilling actor.
Did not fund. And their failure to assess the scale of the challenges facing our public services means that this budget raises taxes.
The same comments, but the analogy of comparing pocket money and personal independence payments is clearly not right.
The pressure forcing this parliamentary performance had become insurmountable. Social media platforms erupted with calls for her resignation, hashtags demanding her removal trending relentlessly. This digital groundswell created a feedback loop that penetrated Westminster's bubble, making her position increasingly untenable with each passing hour. Even more damaging, Reeves's economic vision came under heightened scrutiny. Her proposals for Heathrow expansion and a British Silicon Valley suddenly appeared disconnected from everyday concern.
The budget came out at the end of October, and I was very struck by the difference between the report that the Office for Budget Response...
The unlocking of house building, 14,000 new homes in a variety of places, in Worcester and Sutton Coldfield, and in Liverpool, for example. So,
Anne Widdecombe delivered perhaps the most cutting assessment on Talk TV. They are not even giving it to the public sector in terms of increasing services. They're giving it to public sector unions in terms of increasing pay, which is something entirely different. Widdecombe's critique struck at the heart of perceptions about Reeves's fundamental misunderstanding of how the private sector operates. What might an effective response have looked like? Rather than waiting until forced immediate acknowledgement of the disconnect would have demonstrated awareness. Instead of qualified language, direct ownership of the mistake might have rebuilt trust. And concrete actions, perhaps canceling a luxury infrastructure project in favor of direct cost of living relief, would have signaled genuine understanding of citizens' struggles. The Chancellor's approach stands in stark contrast to political apologies that have actually repaired reputation damage. Where successful crisis management acknowledges error quickly and completely, Reeves offered reluctance and reservation. Where effective communicators match their body language to their words, her physical discomfort undermined every syllable.
And I recognise the difficulties that my right honourable friend is facing in terms of fiscal challenges and
The Reeves debacle illustrates perhaps the most crucial lesson in modern politics. Technical qualifications mean nothing without emotional intelligence. In today's digital landscape, where every word is scrutinized and amplified within seconds, authenticity isn't just preferable, it's essential for political survival. What makes this case study particularly revealing is how the social media ecosystem instantly identified and punished perceived inauthenticity. When politicians fail to demonstrate genuine understanding of everyday struggles, the public's verdict is swift and unforgiving. The damage to Reeves's credibility will linger far beyond this news cycle, serving as a warning to all public figures. In an era of transparency, your capacity for empathy matters more than your credentials.